The BBK High Flow Aluminum Fuel Rail Kit is available for the 99 to 04 Mustang GT owners who are looking to push the horsepower limit of their 4.6-liter motor and need a more capable fuel rail system in order to handle the proper amount of fuel needed for their setup. This particular kit is finished in blue and includes everything you need at a more affordable price than most options on the site. The installation for fuel rails and lines aren't exactly a walk in the park, as they do require to remove the manifold and have a little mechanical knowledge, so I'm giving this one full 3 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, which I'll talk more about later on. First and foremost, why would you need to upgrade your fuel lines and rails to a high flow kit like this? Well, plain and simple, you might need more fuel delivered to your cylinders to keep up with the power you want to put to the tires. Fuel rails and lines are a part of that system. There are 3 main components to the delivery system, which consist of fuel pump, fuel lines and rails like here, and the fuel injectors. The stock setup can only handle so much, so when you're pushing your motor to and past the limit, you need to start replacing those parts with aftermarket ones that you know can get the job done. Now, the reason I said you might need more fuel delivered is because it really depends on your particular setup. The factory fuel rails can tend to limit the amount of fuel being delivered because it can only handle so much. If you're pushing more power than it can handle, which is typically right around the 500 wheel horsepower mark, they can tend to act as a bottleneck and even bend in some cases and break. The stock pump and injectors are known to handle more than the rails, so this might be the first stop in upgrading the fuel delivery system. With the high flow system I've got here, you're able to open up the passageway when your motor is chugging the fuel going in order to output its maximum potential. Since these are CNC machined out of a lightweight billet aluminum, they are able to handle maximization far better than the stock wimpy rails ever could. The blue anodized finish helps with longevity, but it also looks pretty cool peeking out under the manifold as well, which is always a plus. BBK typically makes some pretty budget-friendly parts, and this one is absolutely no different. For just above the $200 mark, this kit comes with the 2 rails you see here, as well as the proper hose fitments and all of the hardware needed for the installation. It's not a bad idea to pick up a set of braided stainless steel fuel lines as well to help complete the flow to your cylinders with some more reliable parts. Keep in mind, this is going to need a tune since you're altering the amount of fuel being delivered, and you can work with your tuner to determine whether or not you want to pick up some upgraded injectors and/or a new fuel pump to help with the delivery system completion. Really all depends on your particular setup. I know I've said that a bunch of times, but it's very important. The amount of fuel pressure, the boost levels, and if you're going with forced induction is all up between you and your tuner. There's a lot of variables that can come into play, so you want to take that into account. The installation is definitely going to require some mechanical expertise, as I mentioned in the beginning. As far as tools, you'll need a spring lock type fuel line disconnecting tool, which if you don't have, you can get at your local auto parts store. Most of them will rent it out for you, so you don't have to worry about buying it for a one-time use. Also have an 11/16" wrench, a 12mm, 10mm, and 8mm socket, and a ratchet, 5mm and 5/32 Allen wrench, white lithium grease, Teflon tape, and anti-seize locking grease as well. Obviously very specific tools here, so you want to make sure you have the right ones on deck before you get started. If you don't have the expertise or a helping hand to get this one installed, there's no shame handing it over to a professional to get done properly. Definitely give this one full 3 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. It'll take a couple hours from start to finish. There have been some reports and controversy over the fitment issues with different sets of coil-on plugs and different aftermarket manifolds. The truth is, this kit is made to work with most aftermarket manifolds and almost all plugs, including MSD. You'll definitely want to make sure you're using the correct tools I mentioned a second ago, but other than that, there are some good old-fashioned elbow grease involved to do the trick. There are instructions provided in the kit to help you along your way, of course, and our customer service team is always willing to give you a hand. That just about wraps this one up, so if you're the owner of a 99 to 04 GT Mustang, you might want to check out the BBK High Flow Aluminum Fuel Rail Kit, available right here at AmericanMuscle.com.